In today's session, we're going to continue on the implementation process of achieving breakthrough improvement. This is the last video in this series, and we've been talking about the management system. So in this session, we're going to talk about change management. So change management is an important part of this whole process to achieve buy-in from the entire organization on the organizational changes that'll be made, and of course, communicating the benefits of those changes to the organization, to the stakeholders, to the employees, and so forth. And when we do the change management, of course, we want to make sure we tie each of those initiatives back to the vision and mission statement. So making sure that the changes that we're proposing are in alignment with the vision and mission statement. If we don't have alignment there, then that's a problem. So you really got to ask yourself, are these the right initiatives that we should be going after? When we look at change management, there's of course resistance. So one of the keys of change management is overcoming the layers of resistance. So the layers of resistance are, first of all, layer zero, why change? So we don't even agree as an organization that there's a problem. Layer one is disagreement on the problem. Layer two is disagreement on the direction of the solution, because once we define the problem, there's multiple ways we can solve that problem. So making sure we get agreement on what is the approach we're going to take to solve that problem. Layer three, disagreement on the details of the solution. So does the solution actually solve the problem or not? Layer four is disagreement on the negative ramifications. So these are the, yes, I agree, but I see negative implications of the solution. Disagreement on the details of the implementation, and then disagreement on the risks. So we call that unverbalized fear. So of course, the change management process needs to overcome all these layers of resistance. And when we look at change, we look at this four-box matrix. So we have the positive of change, the negative of change, the why change at all, and then change. So we look at the four-box matrix here, and of course, the negatives of not changing are all the alligators. So those are the things that are biting us every day and creating the chaos in the organization that's preventing us from achieving stability. So, of course, we want to start with the negatives of not changing. Of course, overcome layer zero first of like, why do we need to change? Then our pot of gold is what we're going after. So it's the positive of change. Then we have our mermaids, which are the positives of not changing. And then the crutches is the negatives of change. So we need to make sure we address all these issues in our change management process. And if you aren't proficient in facilitating in a group environment going through this change matrix, it's very difficult because you'll walk out of the meeting just frustrated, be like, oh, it's like every proposal that I submitted or talked about, it just got shot down for 100 reasons why we can't do it. So, of course, we want to overcome these positives of not changing. That's layer zero. So I don't even understand why we need to change because everything's great, right? So we need to overcome those issues of why change at all. Next is disagreement on the problem. So the negatives of not changing. So having sufficient information to get people to agree, yes, right, we're dealing with all these issues and we understand the cause of all these issues. And then, of course, layer two is disagreement on the direction. So a lot of people see risks associated with a change, and that's why they don't want to change. So again, you need to understand which box people are in when they resist change, and then use the appropriate tools to overcome that resistance. So change management starts with a conversation, making sure you have a deep understanding of the concepts you want others to understand. Then an important part of change management, never tell the person you're speaking with what they're wrong. So they have a perception about reality, and then when you start to change the reality, right, they're going to resist. And we need to understand what is their perception, what is their mindset, and we need to change that mindset. So they believe they're right, so they don't understand they might be using a false assumption. So it's our role as a leader to understand where is the false assumption through communication and asking questions. We use the Socratic method, and then understanding like where's their mindset, where does the mindset need to be, and then recalibrating that mindset through questioning using the Socratic method. So the Socratic method is asking questions to get people to achieve buy-in and get the same mindset and the same strategic thinking. So once we do that, then we get everybody on the same page. So when we look at change management, there's an important part of leadership, and that's why it's in my management portion of the House of Operational Excellence, is making sure the leaders are involved in the change management. So their role is to define the vision and communicate the why behind the change, right? So that's why I tied that change management to the mission and vision statement in the House of Operational Excellence. They act as role models by demonstrating commitment to the change. So we don't want leadership wavering on the commitment or wavering on, is this the right thing we should be doing? Everyone needs to be aligned. And so when we're looking at change, right, we're looking at the plan, do, check, act cycle. So the plan step is the most important, that we have a solid plan and everyone's in alignment with that plan. Then we gain executive buy-in by making sure senior leadership's aligned with the organization and moves in the same direction. And they must actively participate, not to just approve from a distance or disapprove from a distance, right? They need to actively participate and be in that change management process. And then we need to empower managers as change champions. So leadership sets the direction. It's the middle managers that are the key here in change management. We want the middle managers involved in that change management because they're the link between the people in the process and leadership. So now we get those middle managers is the key to driving that change. And of course, they need to be great problem solvers. So when there's an issue that comes up, they need to be able to take that issue, solve that problem, come up with a solution. And again, using the Socratic method for the people in the process to make sure we have alignment and agreement on the direction we're going. Once we get the ball moving and we see success, so one of the keys is that we have immediate success on the implementation. Once we get that, then we'll start to see people jump on board and say, hey, this really works. It's making my life easier. We're getting results. We're driving improvement in the organization. And of course, we want to take that improvement and create that decisive competitive advantage in the market. So that's our session for today. Thanks for joining. This is the last session in the series. I hope you learned something from this series. If not, go back and review some of the videos. Also, I have a whole set of videos on change management that's probably 6 or 7 sessions on going through each of the layers of resistance. Thanks for joining and thanks for being part of the series.